What's up, everybody? How we doing? It is the final race recap for Season 2, 2022 in the iRacing Formula Renault 3.5 Championship. Well, it's been a long season. It feels like it's been a long season. But it's been my best season. So, and it's also been a roller coaster of a season. You know, a lot has happened. But I won't dwell on that too much during this recap. I'm thinking of doing a season recap next week. Since we're, week 13 now, there's no racing going on. So see how we go. I might pull together some of the highlights and lowlights of the season. But before that, we've got to do a actual race recap. Of the last race at Interlagos. So, as always, let's first jump in, just have a look at the qualifying results, and then we'll talk about my race and do the usual incidents and this is a motor race segments. So, as you can see here, I had an absolutely shocking qualifying. Ed out front with an actual mega time, 1:19.5. It was 3/10 off Fabio and 4/10 quicker than Yuki, and those were already pretty quick times. Jace, teammate for TFR, picked up a second row start, and I started on the third row with Marcus Alecron, and my teammate just behind me, Miguel, on the fourth row. As I said, I just had a real shocker. I locked up on turn, I think it's 7, which is, this after the long right-hander, there's a slower sort of Mickey Mouse section, and I just kept locking up in there on both laps, losing a bunch of time, 2-3 tenths probably at the very least. So, look, I don't think I would have been on the. I definitely wouldn't have been on the been able to get above Fabio, but it might have been on the second row if I had have put it all together. I think there. So, but nonetheless, let's jump into my race, and we'll have a look at some of the action here. Now it's interesting. If you remember, I had Oh, hey Miguel, welcome. How is Horsham? Horsham, from what I remember, is very cold, especially this time of year out in farm country. So, how are you doing, Miguel? Um, as Miguel will know, I had the last couple weeks and even the race before this exact soft race. I've been having terrible starts. As I mentioned a couple times, I do have this new Cube Controls F Pro, and it's got dual clutches, and I'd been using those clutches for starts, but I think I had them configured wrong, and they were dragging a little bit, so there was always a little bit of clutch input, um, and I think that had what triggered like instant wheel spin the couple of times, both here at Laguna Seca and in 2 races actually at Laguna Seca and 1 race here the day before this actual race. So I recalibrated everything and switched it up and did a bit of a different method to start. And thankfully, we'll jump in here, but maybe we'll sit in my cockpit just so you can hear everything. Or you can't quite hear the exact. So actually, what I should say is before starting, I didn't save the replay. I had to get the replay from a teammate Ollie, um, and because it's not my data and my inputs, it's going to be a little off. It's going to be iRacing's interpretation of it. So you can hear here that there's some weird sounds going on, but I assure you, I had sort of launch control on, and then I got a great getaway. A really great getaway there. I managed to jump Marcus, who was just ahead of me, and I almost got Fabio as well. Almost got Fabio into the first corner. What I did make a mistake here, though, is not covering back on the inside when I had space to do so. I had heaps and heaps of space. But I didn't cut back across to defend on the inside, which I really should have. And this watching this here, it cost me a position by not blocking Marcus from getting a much better exit than me through this section. And it just meant that he got a great run down this Red Aposta and into T4, which is a good overtaking spot. So I think I realized halfway down, and I realized halfway down he had a good run, but I was in a slipstream of Jace, so I was getting a bit of a tow to get ahead, but I was sort of in a bit of a compromised position. I couldn't brake maybe as late as I wanted to be able to try and retain this position because of Jace in front of me, and he was blocked from Fabio coming back onto the racing line after being off the racing line there. So it sort of bunched me up, and I didn't, going in side by side, Marcus could brake a lot deeper. There was a lot of room on the inside there, so he got a good run then, and was able to then challenge Jason into this into turn 6 and 7. And actually at this point here, I was telling Jace defend hard to try and prevent Marcus getting in front, but he was like, just play it cool, we don't need to race hard. The idea for this race was we were running second and third in the championship, and there was a potential for Ludovic Raycon, sorry if I'm butchering his name there, who was in P4 in the championship, to maybe, if we didn't finish and he got a really good finish, then he might have been able to jump both of us and in the championship. So Jace rightly here was just like, no, play it cool. We don't need to race these guys ahead really for the championship. So it's better, just settle into the race. We know Marcus can be quite aggressive, and he was actually quite quick this week. So we were both like, just play it cool, play it cool for a bit, just settle in, and then see how we go. And you can see there's a big train, forming. This racetrack it's awesome for racing, but it is quite hard to shake the people behind you, because there's a big long straight that's worth 3/10 if you're in the slipstream. So you can get tow. It's very hard to break that tow. So just settle in, try and work out where your pace is at, and then try and put some distance behind the people behind us is sort of what we're going. One thing I will note is, interestingly, Yuki had a really great start. I'll just sort of show here. So from the second row, he managed to get a great start and jump both Fabio and then challenge Ed into the first corner. as I said, unfortunately, this isn't my replay, so we get some dropouts. Um, but um, Yuki did a great job, challenged and getting in front of Ed there. Ed, I don't think he had incredible race pace, so I don't think he was too fussed about letting Yuki through. He just wanted to make sure he probably got through, um, and then try and make a dash up here. So um, this is the typical overtaking spot. You can see Eddie used DRS. Yuki didn't, which is interesting. I thought Yuki would have used it, especially on the first lap. When you're within half a second with DRS in the slipstream, you can challenge into T1, so that's what Ed did there, and that was all pretty easy. But for the rest of us, we're just in the train now. Um, so again, we just settle in. Um, what was going on? Because Jace ahead of me is a teammate, and Miguel behind me is a teammate. We were on Discord and we're having a chat, and sort of again we were in a pretty good position. We were hanging with these guys, but didn't really have the pace to be able to overtake them and pull a gap on them. So when you're in this situation, it's a lot better to just let the guys ahead sort of duke it out a bit, and you can see already Fabio is having a look up the inside. He's starting to try and make some moves, and this just slows those guys down, and it allows us to sit back, let them burn off their DRS, fight it out, and potentially, get involved in some kind of incident that will give us free positions. And knowing the guys ahead, again, Marcus is quick, but he's fairly aggressive. Um, Fabio's a great racer, but he's also has a few incidents every now and again. And Yuki also super quick. Yuki's um, often the top handful of drivers on any given race day, but he is also prone to um, incidents or lapses. So we were just sitting back and waiting to see how things unfolded. So I won't go through all of the laps, but this was essentially what was going on. Um, on lap 8, I made a bit of an error here. Yeah, got a bit deep. I was sort of struggling all week at this track, just going a little bit too deep, and sort of had some rear instability. So I started to lose touch a little bit with the pack ahead, but there's a few little things that started to happen that I think Fabio was getting maybe a little bit impatient, feeling like he had a bit more pace than Yuki, and you could just sense things. Were starting to talk on the radio some more. You could just sense some things were starting to get a little bit reckless, get a little bit touch and go. So yeah, we were just hanging on at the back there, trying not to make too many of those mistakes. And then we saw this happened ahead. Fabio has gone in a little bit too hot, and you can take this corner quite a number of ways. You can sort of stay along this curbing, um, and actually, let me just I got something. Let me see if I can get this going here. Um, You see. Now, I want to try and be able to draw on here. I think I thought I could. Let me just Control U. Okay. Alrighty. Yeah. There we go. No, I'm not sharing my screen. God damn. I've got the drawing going, but I don't have the this was something I should have prepared earlier, but let me see if I can get it going here. Sorry. I won't bother. I had prepared to try and draw on the screen, but anyway, this corner here, there's a few ways you can take it. You can sort of keep going straighter and then turn in late, or you can kind of diagonal it. And I don't know if Fabio just didn't quite know that Yuki was going to turn in late, or he's just carried too much, or he actually went for the move. I'm not exactly sure. I think if he went for the move is a bit aggressive there, and they were lucky that both of them didn't completely nuke each other, and very lucky that Marcus didn't take out both of them as well. But with that said, it brought me and Miguel back into it, so we were happy about that. And again, like we're thinking some shit's gonna go down pretty soon, you know. This is gonna be on for young and old. So let's do it.
Nothing, just an incident on the race.
And yes, this is when things start to heat up. As I said, on lap 12, so we've had just that, little touch and go before. And now we are on the very next lap. Yuki's dropped back a little bit, but we've got Fabio and Marcus going for P2. And we'll just watch it from Fabio's point of view. So he's gone in pretty deep. And yeah, so this is quite unfortunate here. It looks like to me that Marcus is braking late to try and keep the position here. And sorry, I'm just trying to get my camera. He's braking late to try and keep the position. And then Fabio's started to come back on, to maybe, I don't know if it's to squeeze him a little bit, but he's just certainly got a lot more turn-in potential right here. And Marcus has then run, I don't know if it's a little deep, a little wide, but certainly they get close, and then there's just some netcode contact on the rear, which is some very odd contact, and Marcus is obviously not able to hold it, and Yuki's got nowhere to go. Then Jace is deciding, okay, what to do. A bit indecisive, but then he decides to dart across the the grass. It looked like it was going to work until he got here and then started spinning because it's just too bumpy. All the while I'm here, I'm thinking two things here. I'm thinking, this is awesome, I'm going to get a bunch of free spots, but I'm also thinking, it's just my luck to go one way, and that's the complete wrong way. So, I've seen it here, I've seen Jace go there, I've thought about it, and then gone, nah, I can go around, and then, I've days of thundered that shit, and just put my foot down afterwards, and after the initial hesitation, So initial hesitation here, I'm just waiting, and then I'm like, alright, let's go. Unfortunately, I was the only one who made it through. And we can see my teammate Miguel, unfortunately, not too far behind me, but Marcus didn't hold his brakes, which is what the main issue was here. So you can see Marcus is rolling backwards here. I managed to just sneak by. He's not pressing his brakes until he's right in the middle of the track, and there's nowhere for Miguel to go. And that's it. I mean, it sucks. It really sucks because you know we're looking like we're going to be in really good positions. It worked out better for me overall. I went from 6th to 3rd, so I'll take that. But Jason went from 5th. He ended up finishing 4th, which is awesome. So he managed to, you know, keep the position. So he was net positive, but poor old Midge, Miguel, you know, he went from a good top 10 position, you know, P7, incurring a lot of damage and finishing right down the order after having to pit for... Yeah, I think he's just gotten furious and it just driven straight through him. Is that what happened, Midge? You just were like, oh, fuck it. You stop in the middle after not holding your brakes and you're like, alright, I'm going through. I mean, what else are you going to do? You can't reverse. But yeah, it was, dude, it's such a tough one. Like I said, I think more than anything, the issue was that Marcus didn't hold his brakes. You can see here, he got pushed a bit, but then he's just rolling onto the track. He should have had his foot on the brakes here, but he's still rolling. I think he was hoping to, you know, sort of roll back and spin around and be facing the right way, but yeah. I think you had a slight opportunity to maybe go further left. Yeah, slow. It was a slow plow, a snow plow mode engaged. A slow snow plow. But you probably could have just snuck around, but you'd already sort of made your decision there, I think, Mig. And it's easy to say, you know, in hindsight when you're looking back. But I mean, it was looking good. It was looking good, and then it all just went. And I think that's is that Batman on the car? I'm not sure if it's Batman, but the Dark Knight Rises, my friend. That's what happens. So, yeah. Anyway, so that wasn't good. Was not good for a few people. What was crazy was this. So, you know, the chaos after this ensuing, Midge did his best blocking. Who did you block there? James Byrne. Not intentionally, just because I think you've got massive damage on the front wing and you were just slow and he was boxed in, but you can see here the chaos afterwards. Everyone did well to avoid everything. Chase did his best Max Verstappen impression, which is good. I mean, we know it's not an off track there if you're Max Verstappen, so that's all good. And so, yeah, Jace did well to hold on to P4 there, so great work. Yeah, Miguel, I mean, I think I said on the interview, I zagged when I should have zagged, but most of the time I'm zigging when I should have zagged. So it happens, and there's not much you could do. It's a flip of a coin most of the time. Um, but anyway, that's the first incident. I'm gonna talk about the rest. My race was after that was pretty done. This was lap 12. I'm in position. I'm in the third position. I'm 4 or 5 seconds now behind Fabio because I'm having to slow down, avoiding the incidents and whatnot. And after that, we were just matching race pace, and I ended up finishing third. So that's great. I'm stoked that I got to finish on the podium for the last race. It sucks it wasn't quite on merit, but those things happened. Those things happen. Yeah. Wait for it, Greg. We're going to go back, all the way back to lap 1 to talk about some more incidents. Because this was one of the most consequential incidents here. Just, going in, just replay it one more last time. Most consequential incidents because of the impact it had on the podium positions. But it wasn't the best incident. It wasn't the best incident. So let's go back, all the way back to lap 1. And this is going to take us back to last week and my old friend Ludovic Rancon, or Ranson. I'm sorry. I'm totally ruining your name, but anyway, Ludovic, as you can recall, last week we had a bit of a tete-a-tete. Well, he psyched me out going into turn 1 at Zolder, and I ran wide, thinking he was dive bombing me. And I was a bit upset by it because I do know how aggressive he is. But anyway, let's watch this. He did a pit lane start. I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe he had a terrible qualifying. In fact, he qualified P11, but decided to start from the pit lane. Maybe to try and avoid the usual T1 carnage. So anyway, you can see here's Pop DRS coming out of the pits. He's position 20. And he's sending it down the inside, and I mean, what were you get? I mean, this, I feel like this vindicates my my position of last week, thinking like this guy is a bit too aggressive. He just likes to throw it on the inside and fuck the rest, And this is clear. I mean, I don't know why he continued to go on the inside there, where everybody, it was always going to tighten. I mean, this is the craziest thing I've seen. So the guy in front who was right behind, so I just talk names here. So Takashi pulled out of Philip Hillard's slipstream. Right thing to do. He was tucked up in there. I feel like he thought he was going to be able to brake a little bit later, and gain some positions here on Philip. But Ludovic, I mean, it's already tight here. He was braking late. I guess he didn't expect it's braking early, but ahead, there's a lot of cars ahead and a lot of chaos ahead. And I mean, this was all. This was always going to be the biggest disaster. In fact, yeah, poor Takashi was stuck here. He had someone coming down on his inside. he's all of a sudden got Philip turning in on him and is in the sandwich and there is nowhere to go. Yeah, Philip did turn in, like, came in pretty aggressive, but he's going to have no idea there's someone else throwing it down the inside. I mean, there may have been an accident without Ludovic doing what he did, but maybe Takashi would have been able to take more of the inside and avoid Philip then. It's hard to say. Usually when... It's one of the worst things, getting caught 3 wide in the middle. Because, I mean, there's just not a lot you can do. Usually what you'd be planning on doing is taking the space on the inside, and then all of a sudden you've got a car coming up on the inside with a space that you were probably going to take, or thinking you're going to take if someone was in front of you turning in. So that's gone. You can't brake much harder, and you've got someone turning in on your right. It's crazy, and it's typical of Ludovic's driving to do this, to be impatient. And look, I'm not much better at being impatient, especially on the opening laps when I'm down the auto and I know I should be further up. But I don't think I would be dive bombing someone like this. I mean, this is just madness. Just absolute madness. Anyway, I think we've sort of proven the point there. What else was interesting on lap 1 here as well is Dennis. It kind of looks like he gets caught out by some braking as well, some early braking, and just it looks like some rear locking. He's sort of gone to avoid running into the back of Jamie, sorry. Gone to avoid running into the back of Jamie. Swerved and maybe locked his rears a bit, because it's a bit weird to lose the rear like that unless you are sort of getting a bit of rear locking. But I don't see the rear lock. But anyway, this happens. Amazingly, absolutely amazingly, this pirouette. What's the best? I'll go a bit higher up. Amazing, this pirouette here doesn't take out anyone else. I mean, no. Goes inside John, but he's okay. Yeah, John Owens. He's okay. Spinning towards, I think that is Jamie. Spinning towards Jamie, goes inside Jamie, but he's okay. Netcode has definitely changed a fair bit, because that's I mean, usually that is 10-pin bowling at its best. I mean, they're all so lucky there. I can't believe it. How freaking lucky they were with that. Eee. And what's also funny is Morgan, just the seas part for him, and on his way. I mean, everything just opens up for him. There's a lot of shenanigans. He did the right thing by backing off, and if only the rest of the guys going into that corner had maybe backed off as well, then they wouldn't have, resulted in all that carnage. The other one I want to show is just Shane. He does not know what he missed here. It's got these two guys coming on the inside, and in his rear vision mirrors, he'd be just seeing cars flying past. And that's that. But that was a good one. I thought you guys would like that one. Yes. So anyway, that was nothing, just an incident. Oh yeah. T1 in Hungary, Greg, is wonderful for that. Just ask Valtteri Bottas. But anyway, that was good. So let's go on to the next segment. This one is a little bit more light, a little bit more uplifting, and less on the incident side. So let's do. It's called
Moto? Yes. It's called a motor race. Okay.
Yes. All right. I'm going to focus on our teammate Oliver Quokka. He also started from the pit lane after not a great qualifying, but unlike our friend ahead, Ludovic, he managed to miss all the carnage by arriving late. His start from the pit lane, avoiding the carnage, picked up 4 positions straight up. So he went from 21st to 17th straight away. And he's already caught up to the back of the pack here, and avoided the carnage. And now looks on, his sights set ahead to pick up a couple more spots. This one, oof, very tight, little touch, but that's 2 more cars into T1. We see just here, I think Daniel, I think coming across to try and box Ollie in a little bit, but I don't think Ollie quite knew someone was still that close, and they got very lucky with that, but it was a very nice double overtake. So 2 more spots, and he's up to P15 at the end of the first lap. Unbelievable, starting 21st. So anyway, we'll continue on. We'll head on to lap 4. Lap 4 still P14. It's coming up on another car. And it's made a pretty easy overtake there. I think Yaya maybe backed off, let him go a little bit there. Gave him that one easy position, but he's up to P13 at the end of lap 4. He's starting to come up against some much quicker guys. Some guys I think a little bit harder to get past. So he's making some inroads here, and he's sent a late move on Morgan. Another little touch. But the great thing about Interlagos is the ability here to, if you get ahead in T1, is to fight back into T4 here. And you always get such a great slipstream, and because of the way the S's work, you're able to get a good line, but Morgan's just gone a bit too deep and wasn't able to hold it. And Ollie kept that position, so he's P12, end of lap 7. And again, he's still a long way off these guys up front, but remember what happens on lap 10. So, lap 10 was where all the, sorry, not lap 10, lap 12 was where all the shenanigans happened ahead. So this has allowed Ollie to, close right up. Not only is, it's making gains in pace, but these guys had to slow down a little bit for the carnage there, and now he's right on the back. But you can hear he's doing the right thing. He's lifting, not sending it, just being a bit cautious. But it's picked up a spot. I think that was Jamie went a little bit too deep. Oh, and another classic. Whoa! Holy moly! That was I hadn't seen that one, but that was pretty hectic. So I think earlier, the day before, I'd pulled off a pass around the outside here, and Ollie's trying to go one better, but unfortunately, I think he had. It looks like two things. He had a bit too much understeer, like you can see his wheel is quite turned, and he's got a car ahead of him. I think that is Miguel, who's maybe losing Ollie a little bit of downforce there, and so Ollie sort of had to open up, blend out of the throttle a bit, get a little bit more on the brake, and it's just sort of blocked his momentum a little bit. I think without Midge there, he probably would have made it stick. It's hard to say. He's getting a lot of understeer, so it's hard to say if it's the downforce loss or the setup is not quite there. But yeah, Midge, you did pull over sort of last minute, and Ollie has almost made two passes there in one. Although, granted, Miguel, you're not gonna fight the teammate for the position, especially with damage, so not quite a pass. I'm not going to give that to Ollie yet, but he is what do we get crossing the finish line? He's P9 now on lap 13, so it's quite the comeback. Like earlier when I was talking about my own race, Ollie would have been sitting here sort of licking his lips a little bit that these guys ahead are fighting for position. You never quite know. When you do see that, you are thinking there's potentially going to be an incident, or they're going to battle and slow each other down. But Ollie's made another nice pass into T1 here, gets it done pretty much just before the braking zone, so he's been able to take a good, normal racing line essentially on the exit of 2, so it means it's too hard to retake this spot, even though John seems to have a pretty good run. Ollie was still had enough to mean he didn't have to challenge into T4. Yeah, you were repping quite a bit of damage. I think you pitted on that lap, didn't you? So quite a bit of damage for Miguel there. But that's another spot for Ollie. Up to, I think it's P7 now. And now, as I said, he's seen these two fight ahead. This is perfect. He's got a slipstream. Those two are fighting. I don't typically like to get amongst somebody who's already fighting for a position with somebody else, because it just adds so much more chaos. Excuse me. But Ollie has done a great round the outside there. Again, he's compromised into 2, and Cal has a great run from 2 and down to 4. So it's going to be a bit of a drag race, and it's going to tough to keep hold of this position. Ollie defend on the inside is the right thing to do here. Whoa, that was interesting. That John Owens had so much extra speed. I think he must have had the perfect uncompromised exit, and he's got the slipstream, so he had a lot of overspeed there, but not. And that was a nice overtake on Cal, but Cal's managed to fight back. Whoops. Cal's managed to keep the spot, and Ollie's managed to keep the spot, which is a good thing for him, with John and Cal fighting over the position behind. It just meant Ollie could get away, but Ollie's up to P6 now. Remember, P6, starting from the pit lane at, he was 21st coming out of the pit lane. Unreal. So he's got one more spot ahead. James Byrne, who had some good pace this week, but Ollie, seems to have the edge on him, have the additional pace. Just having a look at Ollie's pace. He's gone to the inside. This is very honestly, I think you do want to be on the inside there if you can for an overtake, because it does set you up nicely here to defend on the inside of T4. And usually you can come out ahead, but you just didn't quite have it. It sounded like a couple of maybe missed shifts up the straight, and he didn't quite have it. And yeah, he didn't quite have it to hold it around the outside there, which tells me I don't think he would have had the ability to take the outside pass on John Owens earlier around the outside. I don't think he had quite had the turn in for that to happen. But one good thing about this track, as I said, you can just fight from T1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's all ability to go side by side racing through there. So that was really good to see. So he's having he's having another go at James here. He's gone to the inside again. And just didn't have it, wasn't going. Sometimes you can give it up here, and as long as you get a good exit, you can drag race down. But James has done the right thing in making Ollie go the long way round, and it often, if you are trying to go the long way round here, you have to be well ahead of the car on the inside. Otherwise, what ends up happening is what James did, which is sort of block the inside enough and the outside. Looked like Ollie was going to try and switch back a little bit to try and take the line on the inside, but he just got a little kick of oversteer and backed out of it. So this is take 3 on 3 laps in a row. This time he's gone the outside. So he's trying to hang it around the outside there, and there's just, I think, a slight bit of netcode contact there. It seems these new netcode rules that they've prevented the rear ending, like the rear end netcode change is awesome now. You rarely see that happen, but the side impact seems to happen quite a bit more often. There's a buttload of space there. I mean, at least a meter and probably a little bit more. And there's just that, you can see the car does this like kind of shimmy. And that says to me that there's some contact there. And unfortunately, it's sent James a little wide. He's managed to keep it out of the wall, but unfortunately, it has meant that he's lost a bunch of positions there, which is, I mean, that's a real shame after all that good all that good wheel-to-wheel action in a really great position. It's no one's fault here. I mean, that neither of them did anything wrong. It was just a netcode incident where they're sort of both coming together, and the algorithms decided that they contacted, and it sort of pushed James a bit too wide there. I thought he was going to hang on to it there, but he's unfortunately spun coming back on. But you know, as we said, one man's loss is another's gain here, unfortunately. And Ollie, from last on the grid to finishing P5, fantastic drive, Ollie. Great. I think it's an exercise in patience. He took, there was some, no, I wouldn't say risky, but there was some hard racing going on there. But it was some patience, and Ollie is great for that. He often finishes a lot higher than he qualifies. So this is another good example of that. But that's it. That's the race recap for the last race of the season 2 2022 for the Formula Renault 3.5. I just duck back quickly to the browser. We can see Eddie won. He was on another level this week. No one could touch him. Then Fabio and myself, Jason, Oliver. So, P3, 4, 5 was Downforce Racing. Awesome job. Unfortunately, Miguel finishing P18 after running, P7 and would have finished there easy if there were no incidents. So that's a real shame. But going across to the standings, Eddie took out the championship this year. Finally, I guess after Tim Delisle and James Pinsker aren't racing anymore, he's taken it out. Good on him. He was head and shoulders above the rest of us this year. But congrats to Jace for finishing P2. He had a really solid season, all season very consistent. So great job, Jace. Myself, 30 points behind Jace. I think if I had have finished my last, previous 2 races to this, it would have been a lot closer. But coulda, woulda, shoulda, etc. I'm stoked. This was my best result every season I've raced here. To come third in overall, third in Division 1 in this car is really stoked with that. So, and then our old mate Ludovic unfortunately had that terrible final race, so he finished a few hundred points off us. Then Fabio and Javier and Carlos, all those guys. And actually, congrats to Jamie. That's a great, top 8. Finishing top 10 in overall, that's awesome, man. And then Yuki as well, finishing P9. Miguel and Ollie in P12 and P13. Great job as well, guys. Anywhere top 20, top 25 in this series it's really awesome. It's some of the best drivers I think in any series. So. Great job, everybody, and looking forward to next season. I don't think I'll be racing every SOF, but I'll be definitely racing the first couple because there's some good tracks amongst it. And like I said, next week I think will be maybe a season recap. We'll see how that goes. If not, I'm going to stream just something. A little bit of fun in place of the normal race. But until then, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed the race recaps. Any feedback, let me know in the comments. And what a season. What a season. Thanks for everybody who watched, who liked, and who raced, everything like that, who gave encouragement, feedback. Thanks, Greg. You've been here supporting the stream and DFR and the series in general for a long time. So thanks, dude. Look forward to seeing you in more races next season. And everybody else, take care. Enjoy the week. I'll catch you next week. Peace.